An unforgettable disaster in NFL annals, Chuck Hughes' untimely death on the field during a 1971 NFL game between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions stands as the league's worst tragedy. After collapsing on the field in the middle of a play, the 28-year-old Lions wide receiver and special teams member Hughes could not be resuscitated. His death was not caused by physical touch, but rather by a clogged artery leading to cardiac arrest, as discovered by his autopsy. The death of Hughes should have served as a wake-up call to the NFL to ensure the safety of its players. The incident prompted the league to put defibrillators in all stadiums and institute stricter medical testing for draft candidates. Screening isn't foolproof, but it has helped reduce the number of fatalities that have occurred on the field. The NFL has also been affected by other tragic events, such as Corey Stringer's 2001 heatstroke death prompted greater efforts to prevent heatstroke. A greater focus on the long-term consequences of brain injuries in football was brought to light by the 2012 suicide of Junior Seau, which was subsequently associated with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CT. Sean Taylor was a talented young safety for the Washington Redskins, who was murdered in 2007. The National Football League has taken steps to ensure player safety, but it still has to deal with the terrible fallout from the sport's violent nature. The NFL will undoubtedly confront more challenging concerns regarding the protection of its players while maintaining the game's spirit as research into CT and other long-term health impacts progresses. Chuck Hughes' demise. Chuck Hughes' tragic death on the field on October 24, 1971, while playing for the Detroit Lions, is the worst catastrophe in National Football League history. In a game against the Chicago Bears, Hughes, who was only 28 years old, passed out on the field and could not be revived. Hughes did not die from a head injury, as previously thought, but rather from cardiac arrest caused by a clogged artery, according to the autopsy. There has never been an on-field death in more than a century of NFL play until his untimely demise. The tragic loss of Hughes' life prompted the National Football League to implement new measures to ensure the well-being of its players. Important shifts that came from it include: defibrillators should be installed in every NFL stadium. Screening and medical tests for all draft prospects, player health, and the avoidance of heart problems are receiving more attention. An important turning point in the NFL's strategy for player health and safety came with the Chuck Hughes incident. As a result of this devastating loss, the league made necessary changes to better safeguard its players. There has never been a greater tragedy in NFL history than Hughes' premature death. The NFL's response to Chuck Hughes' untimely demise, the 1971 murder of Detroit Lions wide receiver Chuck Hughes, was a watershed event that caused the National Football League to reevaluate its policy on player safety, health screenings, and exams that are required in the wake of Hughes' death. The NFL began screening and examining all new prospects for pre-existing diseases. Before this change, there was no mandate for thorough medical exams of players across the league. The decision to install defibrillators at athletic venues, the National Football League has ordered all stadiums to include defibrillators so that players can be quickly revived in case of a cardiac emergency while playing. This was a direct reaction to the fact that defibrillators were not easily accessible when the team tried to revive Hughes on the field. A greater emphasis on the well-being of players, the National Football League, NFL, increased its focus on player safety, health, and the avoidance of cardiac disorders after Hughes' death. As part of this effort, there were educational campaigns to increase awareness and stricter monitoring of players' health and medical histories. An important turning point in the NFL's strategy for player welfare came with the Chuck Hughes tragedy. Mandatory medical screenings and the installation of life-saving equipment in stadiums were among the league's essential improvements aimed at protecting athletes' lives. Such on-field disasters have been less common in the decades following the implementation of these policies.